Connor Vanover played. Chris Likes is still short. Devo shot the ball, and the Arkansas Razorbacks defeated the Gardner Webb Bulldogs 69-86. Welcome to the Arkansas basketball recap. I'm Daniel Price. That's Jacob Price. Jake, let's just jump right into it. Slow start again. This was worrisome a little bit. Again, same kind of thing as last game. I felt pretty good about. You can kind of tell as you're kind of gauging their team and stuff. Felt like at the end of the day, we had the better players, more athletic. I didn't think we were going to lose the game, but to wait until you got 5 minutes left in the first half to actually start putting a run together, that's concerning for better teams down the road, obviously. But let's jump in and what are your initial thoughts on the game besides the fact that it would be really nice if we could get off to a better start?
Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, not to it's sort of like the big to wrap up from the beginning. I'm still have almost all the concerns I had at the end of last game. If it wasn't for the fact that I have so much faith in Musselman to make adjustments and make his guys better and hopefully really bring some of those guys along, because I just remember in previous seasons them having a bad game or a really slow start and being like, holy cow, these guys can't do anything. And then they come on. But I do feel like this is a little bit different because sometimes they're playing bad, but this feels like a little bit of a personnel issue. And Muss may still be able to overcome it, but we don't have a lot of shooters and we don't have a pure point guard.
Yeah.
Those are big problems. You know what I mean? Like I think when you get into the SEC and you can't out physical teams and can't just run them off the boards and stuff like that, unless they improve. And now, I mean, I guess if you wanted to look to jump towards the end, like all of a sudden, and of course, once you have a 20-point lead, the pressure's off. They put in some of their, B players, but we need it looked like we need some of those bench guys to come in and shoot the ball. You know what I mean? Because they shot the ball better than our starters did. I mean, it's not a great sign when your second best shooter is 7'3".
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
well, so it does seem like, I mean, again, this based on who you're playing, but so far, one thing that's happened in the first two games is that we've destroyed both teams on the boards, which you might expect to do, but it's a good thing that they've actually done it, because Arkansas has played sort of small ball before and not done that in against inferior competition, but we're dominating teams on the board, so that's good. Right. And we do have some good rebounders. I mean, I think Tony is a very good rebounder, a good offensive. He's got a high motor, great rebounder. Devo's a great rebounding guard. Williams is a great rebounder. Connor is going to get rebounds because he's 7'3". But so that's a good thing. It does seem
that's the kind of thing that will slow down. I mean, I think they'll always be aggressive on the boards, but that is going to slow down when those guys are, LSU bodies.
Yeah.
Well, I mean?
and I did think overall, like, this win looked a lot better than the other win. It took a while to get there, but once the run happened, that was kind of it. And what they did both these games was it's like they figure out that they lock in on defense and they turn that defense into offense. They start turning teams over. I mean, I'll tell you what, man, like Note, while being a guy that by the way, I thought his shot selection was much better this game.
Yeah, it was way better.
And
it was almost too good because the first half we needed him to take some more stupid shots.
Yeah. But he's got a high motor on defense too. I mean, he gets a certain amount. We didn't bring this up last game. I know we talked about his defense, but he had 7 steals in that game. That's a lot of steals for one guy.
In the first game and the second game.
In the first game against Mercer, 7 steals.
Yeah, I know. I remember said, I think he had a bunch of steals. I remember him having a bunch of steals, and he did. Yeah, they said he had 7. How many did he have this game? Because he had some this game too.
The box score that I get doesn't have steals on it for some reason. I got rebounds, assists, turnovers. Well, here's one thing I do know about him is he didn't turn the ball over once this game. So that's a +2. And I know he had a couple steals. So Note's a harassing defender. You had him coming up with 18 points again, but he was 7 of 13 shooting. Now that's half as many shots. I mean, he took 26 shots last game. He took 13 this game.
Right.
So that's
way
great.
more efficient.
Yeah, that's great. Um, I mean, one thing you got to talk about for sure is the fact that, I mean, we didn't talk about this on air. Maybe we brought it up just real briefly, but I know we had talked afterwards about the fact that Connor Vanover didn't play, that we thought like this sort of pace and space style that Musselman wants to run isn't real conducive to him because you really got to get up and down the floor. And we had talked about, man, if he doesn't see the floor, this guy's probably going to transfer, and I wouldn't blame him. Like maybe he needs to be in a more set, half court offense kind of thing. The one thing I did not expect, and I knew that Musselman was going to change lineups. I expected Jalen Williams to start. I did not expect Connor Vanover to start this game. I mean, I did not think that's what he was talking about. And then for Connor Vanover to start, and Connor Vanover, he led the team in scoring. He had 19 points. But here's the thing that's wild about it. He had 19 points and he still only played 17 minutes. He had 19 points in 17 minutes. That's efficient.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So here's what it looks like to me. I mean, I don't know what happened. I actually purposely didn't watch Muss's post-game press conference because I wanted to keep my opinion unbiased, like just see what, and then I'll go watch it and see what he says. It looks to me like Muss is looking for that point guard, and he kind of wants Likes to be that guy, at least to some degree. And he started Connor. I think he saw a mismatch there where he thought that they could take advantage of posting him up and maybe getting the floor more open. And that seemed to work, although we weren't executing it perfectly. And I think even though he made a couple of them, it was probably bugging him maybe a little bit that Connor was catching the ball at 10 feet and then fading away to 15 feet to shoot shots, even though he made a couple of them. That always bugs a coach when a guy that's 7'3" is posting up and then moving away from the basket where you can't get rebounds and can't.
Yeah. I actually have that in my notes that, it says Connor starts, needs to stop fading away and develop some move that gets him moving towards the basket. So even if you're going to take that shot, like go up and then you could still be like kind of going forward to the rebound, develop that to go into a spin and put up like a soft sort of floater or baby hook kind of thing. But a turnaround jump shot from the 8 feet out that puts you 12 foot out, moving away from the basket, even if you're making that shot, which he obviously can make that shot, it's not the ideal shot for him to take. Now, I don't want to take anything away from him because for a guy that didn't play at all and then came in and started, I thought he played great. He had a lot of stuff with those the rebounds, the tip ins. I mean, he played great, hit, shot the ball well. Like he had a mid-range jump shot that was great, hit threes. So he played great, but
I was gonna say, I was actually, my next thing was, I would say he played better than great because I think the points, I mean, the fact that he was the leading scorer, right?
In 17 minutes.
Yeah, that's obviously good, but I think to me, it looked better than that because I think what happened is, as a coach, Musselman sees him fading away on those shots. And even though he makes a few, he started to miss, he missed like 2 or 3. And you could kind of tell, like, as a coach, even it's the same thing with Note. When Note takes bad shots, like, that if that's like, you can't live and die this way. Like you may get lucky a few times, but you can't keep making this your offense, Connor turning around and fading away and hitting 15-foot jump shots. You know what I mean? And so it looked to me like he pulled him out and was like, listen, this is not the way I'm going to, why run my offense the way that I know I'm not going to? This isn't going to work long-term. And it looked like he injected, I think he put Likes in, and it looked like he was trying to like, I need to play with a point guard, because even though they were posting him up, it was still that first 10 minutes and really first 15 minutes was like still the same as the first game, where nobody knew who, it didn't look like anybody really knew who was supposed to be taking the shots. They didn't have anybody breaking down the defenses. And when they put Likes out there, I mean, I like him a lot, and I think he'll still grow into this, but he doesn't use his speed to get other people open again. You know what I mean? He'll dribble around and he'll get his guy on his toes, and then he'll cross the side, and then he'll just swing the ball. And it's like a lot of movement where it's like you could have just passed to that guy at any moment. You didn't need to get this guy falling down in order just to pass it to the top
Right.
of the key. You know what I mean? And when all of their ball movement, they don't have that guy that has that Lonzo Ball thing where he will make a pass across court, not to a guy that's gonna make the shot, but it's the hockey assist. It's he sees where the defense is weak and where they're overspread. And our guys, we just been passing it back and forth. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and there's never that breakdown. And I actually think that team did a pretty good job of playing on the ball defense. Like when we were just dribbling and then going, I'm going to dribble. Oh, I won't, and pass it to you. You dribble a little, pass it to you. Like they weren't letting us drive. You know what I mean? They were staying in front of their guys and doing a pretty good job. And it looked to me like, so Connor came in, played decent for that little bit. Coach didn't really love it as a long-term strategy, pulled him out, and then tried to get something more going with a guard and some actual ball movement. That didn't work at all, which is scary for the future. And it looked like he basically went to, like I said, in my opinion, Connor was the difference in that game. And it wasn't necessarily his offense. It was when they put him in the second half, it was like coach just was like, well, this is how we're going to beat this team.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he completely disrupted their defense is what happened. You know, when Connor was in there, they struggled. So like they all were, as soon as, when he was posted up, you could see all of their defense leaning towards him. You know what I mean? They were all like, as soon as that ball gets thrown in,
Yeah.
we're going to come harass him and try to get the ball out of his hands, make sure he doesn't make a quick move. And just that, having them all leaning, giving them a little bit of space, distracted. And then if they did give the ball to him, you know, they would actually, you know, all those guys would try to sag to the paint to try to block him or whatever. And it just created so much more space for all of the other guys to operate. And then, you know, they got the mojo going and they just, you know, got everybody, the shot started to fall because everybody got confidence and made a few layups.
Well, when Connor was getting the ball in the defense was like you're saying, like we're just concerned about it. That's when you started seeing Note start to get off in the second half a little bit. He started having a little more space to shoot, and you know, so Note ends up with 18 points, and Connor ends up with 19, and so it gives Note, a guy like Note, the chance to be efficient, to be taking open shots, because if you want Note taking open shots, obviously. So I agree. I think that Connor was huge in that game, and not to mention, I think he had 4 blocks. He had a fifth one, I think, that they called a foul on, that I don't have any idea what was going on. Like you just standing straight up and a guy head fakes and then you don't jump and then he goes up and you block him and you're like, that's just how you play that. But I will say this too, like Jalen Williams is just a beast. I mean, he didn't have like these huge offensive numbers, and he might never, but for a guy his size to draw 3 charges in one game is pretty impressive. I mean, it's just anticipation. It's just knowing what an offensive player is going to do. And you could just, he can sense when a guy's committed to something.
And he doesn't ever do the thing that the mistake that people make where they slide or they try to lean their hips. He gets there and he gets there square. You know, he doesn't get there. Sometimes it's pretty bang, bang. Like that one on the sideline was pretty bang, bang. I mean, that could have gone either way, but still, I think the reason the refs give it to him a lot is he's never turned, you know what I mean? Like he's never leaning, he's never sliding. He gets there and he's square. Yeah. And then he just lets him hit him. And not, like I said, I agree with the fact that he's not just, he seems like he's the emotional leader. Like I don't know anything about him, but he seems very likable. He's always smiling. He seems like the guy that's like kind of the glue, you know what I mean? Like really just making everybody the grease between everybody, you know what I mean? Because it just seems like everybody loves him. And he's a hard worker. He's definitely I'm guessing he's one of those guys that like his probably no stat to show what he brings to a team except for maybe
plus minus.
plus minus. And I'd like to look at that because I'm guessing his plus minus is high.
Yeah, I think so. I think him and Devo are kind of the two guys that that do all the dirty stuff. I mean, Note does too, but Note is sort of the obvious guy because he shoots the ball so much and stuff. But he's a great defender as well, which is, you know, it's nice when you have a two-way player like that. But I thought Devo played real well. Actually, you know, he actually shot the ball, so that was nice. And I think he was probably told that he should maybe look to put a shot up. You know, he had 10 points, and he played great defense. I do think that Devo is probably the guy that you need to develop into the point guard, the starting point guard. I like Chris Likes coming off the bench as energy and stuff, but and I know they started with Devo at the point guard. I think it might just take him a little while to fill in that role.
Likes or Devo?
Devo. I think Likes is going to come off the bench, and I think that he's sort of he's an offensive minded person, and he's a high energy guy. But I think Devo is probably the guy if you're looking for someone who's going to be your starting point guard, because even you talking about the hockey pass and stuff. Devo is a pass first guy, and Devo.
Although he did do a behind the back pass again, I think.
Yeah, well, he likes to pass. Maybe he needs to get better at certain things, but that's because
I think
he likes
that was
to pass.
him. I think that was him. I'll have to go back and watch it. I think.
Well, he also had that pass where he went through the lane, got tripped, and just did a shovel pass to a dude cutting for a dunk. He's got good vision. I think he's got probably the best vision on the team. So I think he's the most natural guy for that spot because he wants to pass and the vision's there. I just think he has to get comfortable in that role. So I would think that would be Note can't be your starting point guard. He wants to shoot the ball too much. I don't think it's good for Arkansas if you want him to be your two guard. You want him to be the shooting guard. But Devo is the guy to do that, and you bring Likes in on the bench. One thing I wanted to know what you thought about this. I've thought that when early in the game, Musk took Note out. That he was the first guy that came out. Note came out first, and I don't know. I'm speculating here, but it seemed to me like what he was trying to do was not let the team lean on him too early. So so he took him out and wanted them to figure something else out. So he didn't want okay, the game's tight. Okay, we're down. We're not going to just start having Note chuck up shots and he can save us, but wanted them to maybe try to figure out another way to do it. And I think that if that's the case, and I think I haven't listened to the press conference either, but that's what I thought when he did it. And if that is the thought process, I kind of like it. Right. That he was saying, yeah, we're not going to do that same thing again where we have Note shoot 26 times and bail us out of this offensive slump. We need to figure out a different way to get things going. And I think that was good.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And I'm sure he's using these games as because it does feel like you've got a very limited amount of time to figure out some of these what the best solution to these problems that we have, because definitely the team has problems. You know what I mean? Like they've got to figure out the offense better. They've got to figure out who can be their solid point guard, and the guys. I mean, like I said, they're just not really shooting very well right now. I mean, they shot better this game, but the starters didn't really. I mean, the starters minus Connor, so the guys that started the last game. It was really just Note again.
Yeah, you know I mean, we shot. I mean, as a team, we shot the three ball exceptionally well that game as in the totality of the game, and we shot 48% as a team from the 3-point line. We were 13 to 27. Obviously, you're going to take that any game, but a lot of that was guys coming off the bench. Jackson hit 2. I think Devo hit 2 threes.
Yeah,
Likes hit a 3. Connor had at least 1 3. I think how many did Note hit? Note hit 3 of them. So they're in the second half, everybody was making threes, and so that looked
a lot of that was in the last 10 minutes when the game when the pressure was off. I'm mostly speaking about the first half. Like I said, Connor hit some shots. and Note hit a few shots, and even Devo did hit a shot, or whatever. But other than that, that's why they struggle, because it was just mostly put back layups. And that first half was pretty ugly, really. On offense.
And Tony got in foul trouble. They had to take him out a lot earlier than I think they wanted to. So Tony didn't have the same kind of game he had before, but I think he's fine. He got fouls from playing hard, and I think that kind of threw us off a little bit, because he had 5 early points just being a stud. Not the same thing that Musk said in the press game for the first game, like no plays run for him or anything, just going and getting the ball and hard cutting to the basket and stuff. And I think him not being available kind of threw things off a little bit.
I'm definitely being pessimistic, because there's nothing wrong with that game. Obviously they played pretty well.
Yeah, they got up by 30.
Right. But I guess, and maybe it's that I'm the forever pessimist, but I just, everything I saw, I felt like I was like, you're not going to be able to do that against the SEC teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like Auburn's not going to let you do that. Like even Connor, I was like, Connor's not going to be able to do that against a lot of the big guys in the SEC. And, that ball movement's not going to work. Like there was a lot of rebounding and stuff where I was just like, I just don't feel like the things that won that game for us are applicable to a lot of better competition. But it is hard to know, because it's hard to know how good that team is. It's hard to know if they're really bad, kind of good, or they might be a tournament team. Like you just don't know, because like I said, I did feel like they played good defense. They had some good ball players. That their big man was pretty skilled. I thought he did a good job. I can't remember his name, but like that team might not be that bad. And so maybe that performance isn't, maybe if you play that way against Missouri, you win by 5. But it's just hard to know when you're playing teams that you can't tell if they're cupcakes or if they're halfway decent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think you get up more for like those games as well. I don't know if Arkansas is having a problem walking to the gym expecting to win again, and it's taking them a minute. I know this. You don't want to have to come back every game. That's not a good precedent to set. So hopefully that they can get that stuff figured out. I thought Amude played better. I think that he'll be important because he is a guy. He was at North Dakota last year and he averaging something like 26 points a game or something crazy. So he's a guy that can score. And so he might be a dude that is good to see maybe get more involved and get more shots up. Devo's going to have to not take 0 shots. So that was good. I did like the fact that this is something that we haven't had really under Muss is that they went big against a smaller team. And that's something that we haven't seen Musselman do. And you realize that this Arkansas team, while it's not a huge team across the board, at times they can be pretty big. When you have Connor at the 5, and then you have Williams sort of at the 4, and then you have Tony at the 3, that's a big rebounding lineup right there. Because then you also have Devo out there who's also a really good rebounding guard, and Note.
Note's not small.
No, that lineup is that's a big lineup. That's not something that Musselman usually does, but it was interesting. It could have just been the scouting. He might just looked at the team and just decided that we were just going to go big and beat them up. And that worked because the one thing that was consistent throughout the whole game is that team could not rebound the ball on those guys. When you have someone like Tony playing the small forward spot in that lineup, that's an insane rebounding small forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was kind of different. I guess, like I said, I see in a lot of those, this team we have more of those guys. We have more of those big athletic guys. And I actually think, it's an advantage on the boards and stuff, but it is a disadvantage in that what we're missing from the previous years is Tate and guys like that. Like we don't have, it's weird. Like now Note is I think it's pretty clear your premier scorer. And last year he was fourth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you had Tate and a bunch of, I mean, you had
You had
NBA.
Tate and you had Justin Smith and Moses Moody and
Well, I was gonna say you had
Mason Jones.
NBA players.
Yeah.
You had Moody and Jones, you had NBA players out there that could all one-on-one. If the ball wasn't moving that great, when the shot clock ticks down, those guys are capable of doing something that's not as bad as. And the thing is, I guess I recognize this because I'm this way when I play basketball. I'm not a guy that you want trying to create his own shot off the dribble. You know what I mean? I'm a guy that you want cutting hard, setting screens, and then cutting hard. And if you can deliver me the ball while I'm on the move, I can finish it a little bit. You know what I mean? Or maybe make a jump shot if you hit me in the pocket and I'm set up. But like we seem to have a bunch of guys that would be really good, but they need a few more guys that are can just score flat on their own. Not that you want everybody, you want it to happen through ball movement, but not if you don't have a point guard. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it goes down to that point guard thing. I mean, Muss has brought that up a couple of times. I think that's obviously the thing. This team could be very, very good if they get the point guard thing figured out. It will be the difference between them being pretty good. I think this team's gonna be pretty good. So I think it's the difference between them being pretty good and being pretty special is can you figure out that point guard spot? And at the end of the day, it's probably Devo or Likes. One of those guys is going to have to be that guy. I mean, maybe KK Robinson, but he played hardly any games last year before he got hurt and stuff. I mean, he's still basically a freshman, So that's what I think the season is sort of hinging on. Is hinging on Davis or Likes really embracing the role of being the point guard, because you have enough guys around you. I mean, you have all this talent. You shouldn't have any problems scoring the ball, but you can have a lot of really talented guys, and if you don't have that facilitator, it does make it tough, and that offense can get real stagnant, especially in the half court. I mean, when they're just running and gunning and they're just getting rebounds and going or getting turnovers and going, they're great, and they're just fill it up. But what happens when it's slowed down, when the defense is back, when the defense is set up and you're starting to run sets? You need a point guard and a good one to run sets efficiently. And that is the thing right now. And that's not saying that Devo can't do it. I think he can do it. I think he's just going to have to figure it out. And Likes, I think, could do it too. It's just you got to sort of embrace that role and figure out how to be that guy for the team. So
yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they're gonna. I think if they don't figure out how to be like a more smooth and fluid offense one way or another, either through somebody embracing the point guard spot or them coming up with tweaking the system or them understanding the system better or whatever they're trying to do. If it doesn't get smoother, I think you're going to see when good defensive teams lock in on Note and do exactly that. Try to make Arkansas play half court, lock in on Note, get the ball out of his hands, and then just drape him with either two guys or box and one type stuff and make those other guys make plays for themselves. And right now, I think that's how I would play Arkansas. And I think that's a scary prospect for us because right now, I mean, I don't have high hopes that those guys, they don't look like I'm talking about like, an SEC good defensive team that wants to play half court defense. I think they're going to struggle in that. If they get into one of these teams that wants to just play super fast, then it's, who knows? That's off to the races. It's just who scores more,
mm-hmm.
But I guess, this game, I don't feel like this game really showed us a lot. I mean, there's not a lot. We can probably do this. It can be a little bit shorter than last time because it's hard without knowing how good that team is. And because it was a little bit of a weird game with them putting in Connor at the beginning and then taking him out for the rest of the half and then sticking him back in there and him having a big impact and and then all of a sudden you running away with it. I don't feel like it really showed you a lot. You know what I mean?
I think the only thing it did show you is that Connor has a role on this team potentially, where after the last game, you might have thought he wasn't going to play this year, hardly, or wasn't going to be a pivotal part. It does show you. Connor had to give Musk something to think about after this game about how he's going to do things going forward. And Connor might be that guy that plays a lot some games and not any in other games, depending on who you're playing. But and maybe he's, we'll see if he's okay with that sort of role. But it definitely showed me that depending on the matchup, Connor can still be a pretty valuable piece of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be nice if he could, because there's always those few guys, and Connor's definitely one of them. And maybe it's always like a super big guy or super small guy, or I don't know. Sometimes it's just the guy that everybody likes the most. But when he plays well or performs well, whether it be a block or a 3-pointer, it really does energize the crowd in a way that some of the other guys don't. I mean, obviously, if Note hits a crazy 3, that kind of does it. I think if Likes, it hasn't happened so far, but I think if he ever got hot and started blowing by guys or breaking some ankles, I think that would be one of those scenarios. Obviously, if like Jalen Williams, does anything, like everybody, that there's certain guys that just like really fire the crowd up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the crowd Connor is such a freak of nature that the fans want him to do well. He's this anomaly of a player, and it's fun if he's playing well, because when Connor is playing well, he looks unstoppable,
especially when he hits threes, because it's so weird.
Yeah,
I mean, a 7'3" guy hitting threes, or even those fadeaway jump shots. I mean, they were wet. That was when he looked like Dirk Nowitzki. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, if a 7'3" guy decides to turn a hit, try to shoot a 10-foot fadeaway jump shot, there's exactly no things that you can do about that.
No, that's all the time. It's just, you better be Dirk Nowitzki if you're going to do it all the time, because that's just not going to go in, that much. I mean, you're going to go on stretches where that's going to brick a lot.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be in there rebounding.
Yeah. And you could start, it's certainly a shot you can get anytime you want it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, I like the main thing I thought he did was just every time he posted up, it just disrupted their defense. You could tell they were just frantic about it. And it's so good to get those defenders distracted, get them thinking about something else other than the guy in front of them. And that's when you get those good back cuts and just a little bit of space, and the screens work better. Everything works better when those guys are thinking about what's behind them.
Well, in a half court set, I mean, the whole reason that like Connor struggles to see the floor is because he's 7'3" and can't get up and down the floor, no matter how bad he wants to, at the same pace as the rest of his team. In a half court set, Connor's a real problem, because when you saw it, if you can't let him post you up, you can't let him do that. Like that, he'll murder you. You also can't let him get behind you. If you try to front him, I mean, you saw it happen. You try to front him, they just throw the ball right over the top. It doesn't really matter who you are. They are going to be able to throw it so high over your head that it's going to drop. I mean, if you could throw a pass at all, so you can get, if you post him up, you can get him. If you try to front, you almost have to sandwich him. Well, and this is great too. You can't if you're going to put 2 guys down there, well, that's a win for Arkansas as well. And so I think in a game, in a half court set, like, he's great. The question is, with Musselman wanting to play pace and space basketball, that's a struggle for him. Not in the half court set, because he can stretch the floor too and hit threes, but it's just the up and down, and that makes it tough. But maybe he's a guy that can give you 17 minutes a game. I mean, he had 19 points in 17 minutes. Maybe that's how you use him. You're like, hey, I can get you 8 minutes a half, and we can just run with that. We'll see. I mean, like I said, I have a feeling it's going to be game to game, and that's how he'll get used. But it was good to see him do well. All right, we'll wrap it up. We'll go with who's your player of the game?
It was Connor today, for sure. I mean, Note played really well. His defense was really good, and his shot selection was way better. He was more efficient. But like I said, I thought Connor changed that whole game. I thought he got them all. He messed up their defense just enough to get some guys some looks that went down, and then the avalanche started. You know what I mean? He just got everybody once they started to hit shots. they got the crowd in there, and then everything just became really easy. But it was him going in there in that second half that triggered that whole avalanche. So yeah, it was Connor. I like I said, not that we wanted to start doing the most disappointing player, but so far, not to rag on him, but I still want to see something from Likes. Like, he's out there and he's not doing a whole lot. I mean, I know he scored a little bit here and there, but like, I really want to see more out of him. You know what I mean? He's doing a lot of dribbling and but not a lot.
I want to see him not tackle guys when they're shooting threes too.
Man, that looked like a replay, didn't it? It was like exactly in the same way.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, don't do that, man. Like, you can't jump that hard out at a shooter. You got to learn to do the side swipe, man. Like, you can't full body run into him. I mean, I love the new NBA rule changes where you can't, kick your feet out and like throw a head fake and then jump into a guy and that kind of stuff. But if a dude just straight squares up and shoots a ball and you just mow him over when he's in the air, that's a foul.
Well, it's because he's got such athleticism and he's got such big ups. He jumps like he's trying to actually block it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, he jumps like crazy.
He's the highest vertical on the team.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, dude, if that guy dunks it in a game,
I don't know. Can Likes dunk? Surely he can't dunk.
He might be able to.
If he dunks it in a game, the roof will come off. If he can.
How tall is he?
I don't know. Not very tall.
But he's not shorter than like Spud Webb, right?
No,
or
he
might be shorter than Spud Webb. He's probably about the same size, but
he is. I'll tell you how. We can do this. We can do this live, right? I'll tell you how tall he is. Look at that. We're doing what the announcers do here. We're just like obsessing over his 5'7".
Yeah, so that means he's actually 5'5.5".
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I mean,
dude,
he's the highest.
He's shorter than my daughter.
I know, but if he has the highest vert on the team, he could.
Yeah, maybe. That'd be impressive. I mean, if he even just like baby dunks it, just barely gets
if he even just rolled it in and grabbed the rim.
Yeah, it's shoot, if I was at that game, I'd freak out. Anyway, all right, well, we'll leave it right there. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. If you watch this because you've searched this up on YouTube or whatever, this is the second time we're doing it, so we're trying to build a little audience here. So if you subscribe to the channel, if you're watching on YouTube, that would be great. You can find Arkansas Basketball Recap on Facebook or on Twitter, so you can go follow it there, and we post links to the podcast after they drop every time. So we'd appreciate that, and maybe tell a friend that you enjoyed it if that's true. All right, man. I'll see you next time after the next game.
All right, dude. See you, man.